The question was, if Iran were to launch a nuclear attack on Israel, what would our response be? And I want the Iranians to know that if I'm the president, we will attack Iran.
As the focus of his visit turns to Iran. Earlier today, the president met with the Israeli prime minister to announce a new plan regarding Iran. Mr. Biden told an Israeli news station he wants to restart talks to end Iran's nuclear program. But if diplomacy fails, military force is, quote, a last resort.
Senator and ally of the president says he will vote no on Mr. Obama's deal to limit Iran's nuclear program. Nancy Cordes on what this means.
How can we compare the two sides?
New York Senator Chuck Schumer is next in line to be Democratic leader, the president's top emissary in the Senate. But he's also the most prominent Jewish member of Congress and a fierce supporter of Israel. And that's the side that won out Thursday when Schumer announced that he must oppose the agreement with Iran because of its serious weaknesses.
I am writing to express my profound frustration with the blatant hypocrisy emanating from the Democratic Party, particularly regarding their stance on Iran. It seems their principles are not fixed, but rather are entirely dependent on whether a Democrat or a Republican occupies the White House. We are now being lectured by the very same people who once championed the exact same chilly, hardline policies they now decry as dangerous and reckless. Let us take a stroll down memory lane, shall we?
If Iran were to launch a nuclear attack on Israel, what would our response be? And I want the Iranians to know that if I'm the president, we will attack Iran. Whatever stage of development they might be in their nuclear weapons program in the next 10 years, during which they might foolishly consider launching an attack on Israel, we would be able to totally obliterate them. That's a terrible thing to say, but those people who run Iran need to understand that, because that perhaps will deter them from doing something that would be reckless, foolish, and tragic.
Awarded Israel's highest civilian honor, the President's Medal.
This comes as the focus of his visit turns to Iran. Earlier today, the president met with the Israeli prime minister to announce a new plan regarding Iran. Mr. Biden told an Israeli news station he wants to restart talks to end Iran's nuclear program. But if diplomacy fails, military force is, quote, a last resort.
CBS News White House reporter Bo Erickson is traveling with the president and joins us now from Jerusalem. Hi, Bo. Good to see you. President Biden has been talking a lot about the threats that Iran could pose to Israel, but Israel is opposed to U.S. negotiations with Iran. So is there a broader strategy at play for the region?
So Israel is trying to push back on Iran via force and defense measures, but President Biden is trying to still go about the negotiating route. But that's not going to last forever, he said this morning, because he said he will not wait forever for Iran to come to the negotiating table and try to agree to not go after a nuclear program.
Key Democratic senator and ally of the president says he will vote no on Mr. Obama's deal to limit Iran's nuclear program. Nancy Cordes on what this means.
How can we compare the two sides?
New York Senator Chuck Schumer is next in line to be Democratic leader, the president's top emissary in the Senate. But he's also the most prominent Jewish member of Congress and a fierce supporter of Israel. And that's the side that won out Thursday when Schumer announced that he must oppose the agreement with Iran because of its serious weaknesses. Lifting sanctions on Iran, Schumer wrote, would leave it stronger financially and better able to carry out terrorist actions in Israel, Syria, and other Middle Eastern countries. White House Press Secretary Josh Earnest said Schumer might pay a price for that position.
I certainly wouldn't be surprised if there are individual members of the Senate Democratic Caucus that will consider the voting record of those who say they would like to lead the caucus.
All right. We just watched 3 different clips from major Democratic leaders talking about Iran and the threat of nuclear weapons. What stands out is that these statements show how serious the Iran issue has been for U.S. leaders for many years. Preventing Iran from getting nuclear weapons has been a major concern across multiple administrations. But when you watch these older statements and compare them to today's political debate, it raises some interesting questions about how the conversation has evolved. In politics, leaders often take strong positions depending on the circumstances at the time, And sometimes those positions look different years later when the political situation changes. That is why looking back at past statements can help us understand how the debate around Iran has developed over time. Fast forward to today. Donald Trump, a president who actually did something about Iran by withdrawing from the flawed deal and eliminating terrorist Qasem Soleimani, is constantly criticized by these very same Democrats for being too aggressive and for saber-rattling. What happened to the party of totally obliterate? What happened to the party that kept military options on the table? What happened to the party that believed Iran could not be trusted? Hillary Clinton, during the 2008 Democratic primary, was asked what the U.S. should do if Iran launched a nuclear attack on Israel. Her answer was not to pursue open hands or diplomatic off-ramps. She stated, without hesitation, that the U.S. could totally obliterate Iran. She was not calling for restraint. She was projecting strength. Joe Biden, while campaigning, made it crystal clear that a nuclear-armed Iran was a red line he would not allow to be crossed. He explicitly stated that military options were on the table if diplomacy failed. He understood that sometimes the only thing a theocratic regime respects is the credible threat of overwhelming force. And who can forget Chuck Schumer's principled stance against the Iran nuclear deal? He stood on the Senate floor and argued that Iran could not be trusted and that the United States must maintain strong leverage and the power of deterrence. He was right. It has been replaced by a party that reflexively opposes anything President Trump does, even if it means abandoning their own previously stated positions. They are not interested in a coherent foreign policy. They are only interested in political points. They are the living, breathing definition of hypocrisy, and the American people see right through it. It is time to call them out. It is time to hold them accountable for their egregious double standard. One thing that is interesting when you look at these older clips is how little attention they get today. When major political figures make strong statements about foreign policy, those moments usually become part of the public record. But sometimes certain clips resurface while others seem to fade into the background. In the modern media environment, what gets highlighted often depends on what is happening politically at that moment. When tensions with Iran rise, the focus tends to shift toward current leaders and current decisions. But looking back at past statements from different politicians can give people a broader understanding of how the debate has evolved over time. The issue of Iran's nuclear program has been discussed by leaders from both parties for many years. Across different administrations, officials have used strong language about preventing Iran from developing nuclear weapons and about the risks that could pose to the region and to global security. That is why revisiting older clips like these can be interesting. They show how serious the conversation around Iran has been for decades and how different leaders have approached the issue in different ways. In today's media landscape, a lot of people are questioning how stories are covered and which perspectives receive the most attention. That is one reason why independent commentary channels have grown so much online. People want to look at the full context and draw their own conclusions. But I want to hear from you. What do you think when you see these clips from the past? Do you think the conversation around Iran has changed over time, or do you think it has been more consistent than people realize? Let me know what you think down in the comments. I read through them, and I am always interested to see different perspectives from viewers. And if you enjoyed this kind of reaction and commentary content, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you do not miss future uploads. There is always a lot happening in the news, and we will keep breaking it down right here